Hello, parents. Hope everyone is doing well. We're going to wait a few minutes to start. I think we'll have a big crew here. Just changing some Zoom settings for host only. So if you guys have questions during the Zoom, you can send them in the chat so you don't make fun of, me with each other or, things like that. Things that happen during regular Zoom classes at school. Up to 52 participants. It's great. A lot of familiar names. Oh, they do from a teacher. Oh gosh. I will say I won't try and be too intimidated from a larger group than 30 that I usually have in my classroom. Good to see everyone. As always, we'll give that little grace period, probably like 2 minutes. So we'll start at 5:02, just so if we have any latecomers, they aren't in the middle. I am recording the Zoom, so we'll hopefully post this on the website for parents who cannot attend. No problem, Victor. I appreciate that. I love some Zoom norms. Got a lot of parents on camera. Love it. Mike's muted. Beautiful. Thank you, Carolyn. Mike's muted. Camera's on. Love it. Vidal. Dana, a quick shout out. Hey, hey. Greg, how are you? 78. Uh-oh. All right, let's see. We're up to 79. I'm gonna wait to that 5:02 before I start. All right, great guys. I'm gonna go ahead and begin. I hope everyone's doing well. Just quick intro. My name is Trevor Martin. I am the head of the YDP Youth Development Program. I think this is about my 8th year running the program. My 15th or 16th year in the club. I started my senior year at GW coaching my younger brother's team at U9 and kind of worked my way up through the ranks and love being with Bethesda and love working with these age groups. A lot of times I've worked with the U8s and an older team. Now I'm working with the U12 team, the current U12 team, and next year I'll be moving down to the U11s just to have more of a touch and hands-on experience with the younger players, which I'm excited about. Thank you so much for your time. I'm going to get right into it without going too much on my background and getting into like the nitty gritty and like stuff that you guys want to hear and kind of how the program works and how many teams are going to have, the invite process. And I think, the great thing is usually we have these parent meetings up in the stands at Richard Montgomery or Wooten, wherever we have tryouts. And it's hot and it's hard to hear, and like this way is a lot easier. And for those of you who can't make it, we'll be able to share this on the website so everyone can kind of access it. So I'm excited for this time. Just a couple things as far as norms. I'm not going to stop and take questions after each slide. I think we do a little bit of a question answer stuff at the end. And if you guys want to ask questions that I can kind of go on in the chat, that would be awesome. Just so that I'm not stopping. I will kind of go on rants, and it'll be me talking a lot, but I think at the end we can kind of raise our hands. I can take questions, but you have any good questions, just pop them in the chat. I can go through them at the end. I think that's the best way to do this, just so it can be efficient and I can give the information, and then anything that I missed or you guys need more clarification about, just go ahead and we can pop in. So the first part, and again, I think a lot of directors do this differently. I think for me, it's like getting into the nitty gritty of like what you guys want to hear as far as like player and team information, and how we kind of set up our teams and we do this. So basically for the YDP, we have U8s, U9s, U10s, and U11s, okay? The U8s, we're going to make 4 to 5 teams with a roster size of 10 to 12 players. All right. I'll get into kind of the leagues that they're going to play in a little bit. But with the U8s, we tend to make 4 to 5 even level of teams, and the talent is spread out. And the coaches are using curriculum that are about the same. They're developing the players' touches, their confidence on the ball, and juggling, dribbling, things like that. And the players are kind of evenly spread. U8s will feed into U9s the following year. And at U9s and U10s, we start to kind of tier the rosters. So like our U9 top team, have most of the better players at this time. And we'll talk about kind of development and how that happens throughout these years. But 5 to 6 teams with a roster size of 10 to 12 players because they're playing 7v7. 10 to 12 is perfect, just because maximum playing time. We don't want to have too many kids on the bench. Playing time is really important during these games so that they can use what they're doing in practice in games. U11s, 5 to 6 teams with a roster size of 12 to 14. The reason we max out at 14 is because it's 9v9 instead of 7v7. Team listings, and this is a big one as far as like when you guys are receiving your invites, it's like, okay, what does Academy 1 mean? What does Academy 2, Academy 3, blue, orange, and green? So the way that we rank the teams are Academy 1, Academy 2, Academy 3. Those are like 3 top teams, and then blue, orange, and green. And I guess like the biggest point here as we go through this process, especially at like the U9 and U10, even the U11s, and I kind of have the Langston and Marlon effect up for development. Langston and Marlon are 2 kids that we've had in our program recently. Marlon went from a 5th team, a U11 orange team, to being our leading scorer on the developmental academy U19 team last year, and got a full scholarship to Georgetown. And that was like amazing. He played for me at U15, and like he just continued to work hard. And even though he was on like one of the like weaker teams at a younger age, he was able to kind of continue to work, develop. Growing and puberty is really important later on. I talked a lot about that with my U12 parents, but that's one example. Langston was one of my players last year with the 08s, the U12s that went on to the 2013s, and is now the leading scorer on our MLS next U13 team. Really at U11, he was on the orange team. At U12, he was on the top team, and he scored about 35 goals for me last year. And it was really amazing. So I think my biggest point here is like we, even on these so-called like lower teams at U9 and U10, I think another example this year is like the U9 blue team. And a lot of this maybe was because of COVID. We didn't have tryouts. I think we tried to keep the teams pretty like consistent with last year because we didn't have the tryout process. But, I think the U9 blue team kind of like, was competing with the A3 team like on an even level, or they even like did better in some games. So I think just managing expectations as far as like your invitations, like we have really good coaches at those levels, coaches that have been with us for 4 or 5 years, my younger brother being one of them. And I think keeping in mind that they're still so young and they have so much time to continue to develop with us and with our coaching staff is one of the biggest things that I'll talk about. Invitations will be sent to the email account that you use to log into the league app. So whoever's the head person, like, if it's you and your spouse, whoever's actually signed up for league apps will be the one who receives the invitation. And all those invitations will be sent by the end of this week. If you haven't received one, and I got a couple messages about this, like if you're looking at other clubs and they're giving you a deadline for 48 hours and you haven't received your invitation from us, the reason why is I'm really working hard at meeting with each coach so that we make the right decisions now. And I think Daniel just asked a question about players being moved to a different team during the year that I'll touch on. But we're going to try our best during this week after yesterday's tryout to kind of place players where they are going to fit best and develop with the competition level on their teams, the players that they're training with, the coach that they're with. And yeah, so that's it. So we're going to try our best to get all invitations out by the end of this week. I've started some today, but I'll continue to work with the rest of the coaching staff on getting those out by this week. Okay. So I'm going to move on. Lots of dates here again, like don't, reading through this, I'm just going to go like overview some of these slides quickly. As far as like the year-long schedule. So the end of this year's spring season will start ending the end of May, first week in June, depending on whether the teams have games or not. And then we'll kind of have our break, right? So I'll talk about uniforms later, but summer camps begin. I highly recommend going to summer camps. Mike Edwards and my brother Tyler Martin are really great at summer camps. They're super fun. So take advantage. I think I sent something yesterday out as far as June 4th is a deadline for returning Bethesda players to register for their one free week of summer camp. So just a reminder there. Talk a little bit about player carding. You'll get more information as we get closer to next year and the teams and invitations are sent out. Practices will begin the second week of August. That'll be August 16th. That'll be for U8 through U11. And then we'll start to get into our fall season. So our fall season goes from mid-August to mid-November, okay? For each fall and spring season, you'll get two tournaments. We'll either do a preseason tournament or a Columbus Day. Last year, we leaned toward the Columbus Day just because it gives a little bit more time for our teams to get ready for the tournament. Sometimes those preseason tournaments, the teams haven't trained together, they don't know their position. It gives a little bit more time for the coaches to get to know their teams before getting into some big tournaments. So I would look more and I'll send more information out to coaches as far as the tournaments, but look for a Columbus Day tournament and then a tournament like closer to November. Those two Bethesda Premier Cup dates you don't have to worry about because your sons are not in U13 to U19. And then mid-November we'll stop training, and then the kind of December futsal will start. There might be some indoor training in December, depending on whether we have SO5 open up again. I know we did that 2 years ago, which was great. And we're hoping that we can use indoor space for our winter training next year. And then the winter training goes from January to March. And at that point, the spring season tournaments will start at the end of February, beginning of March. We'll have the Premier Cup April 15th through 16th, same time. I thought it went really well at Covenant Park this year. It was really fun to see all the teams out there. And then you'll continue your league play, fall league play, and then spring league play till the first week of June. So that's just kind of the overview of like the year-long schedule. During that whole time, the teams will be training 2 to 3 times a week. Schedules will be sent out around mid-August, just so that you guys can plan around like baseball, lacrosse, piano, Spanish classes, things like that. We'll definitely have that out as soon as possible. But I would say any combination between Monday, Wednesday, Thursday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, we'll get that out to you guys for sure. Okay. A little bit about curriculum and before like training standards. And again, I'm going to try, and I'm getting some questions, but I'm gonna get to those. I'm gonna try and just cover everything first, and then we'll have some more time at the end. But I think one thing to talk about is like curriculum and like what we want out of our players and like the style of play. So for me, like the most important is that the kids are comfortable with the ball. So that's like skill development. Can they trap and pass? Can they dribble? Are they comfortable dribbling on their own? Can they Are they comfortable juggling? And from there, the coaches can like work with the kids and the players. If they're comfortable with the ball, they can start to teach them like picking their head up and picking out passes, organization on the field, attacking, defending, transitional play. And a lot of those things start to come into play in U11, U10, and at U12, and even at U12, I'm still teaching my top U12 team how to defend, how to attack, how to press, how to transition from offense to defense or attacking to defending. So, but I think the most important thing about our curriculum is that we are doing skill development. We want our players to be comfortable on the ball. We want them to play out of the back, to pass. We want them to play a possession style of soccer and not just kick and run, and not just individual play, but we do want strong team play. So in the training standards, I think like attendance is really big. You know, we want our players to attend training, to have a good work rate, to be focused during training, to do training on their own outside of practice, to have a good attitude with their teammates, with their coach. Are they coachable? To be able to communicate with their teammates and their coaches. And then like in training, ask questions. And I think our coaches do a really good job of this. Like having the kids have to have a voice. So asking questions and feeling comfortable, asking like, how can I do better? What can I do in this situation? Take chances and then apply, those things in training. So I think overall, just like thinking about the curriculum is that we want these players to grow from U8 to U11, and feel like they're comfortable with the ball, feel like they're getting better as players, individual players, and then on their teams, putting that into play during games. League structure is going to be not that different, but for U8 through U10, the U8s will play EDP Futures. Their games are on Saturday mornings at Soccerplex. They play 4v4. We're hoping to get more 5v5 play out of those U8s. This year, the bigger goal is just to implement the goalie a little bit more. U9s and U10s will play 7v7 in CCL or EDP Futures. Possibly NCSL. We're working with CCL and NCSL to see kind of what the best decision is for our teams, but those are the top leagues in the area. The U11 age groups will play EDP or NCSL. Again, each team will be placed in the EDP division that their team can do best and be pushed in each of those leagues. Okay, so the MLS Next in the top corner is what the teams start playing at U13. That is the top academy team starts to play in the MLS Next with like the DC Uniteds and the Red Bulls. And that is now different from the academy, but I just threw that out there for what to look forward to at U13. Game time, playing time, and rosters. Okay. And let's see. Perfect. During playing time, especially U8 through U11, like all playing time, and I think there at U8, U9, U10, playing time is going to be equal in league play. I think 50-50, 100%. I think with U11s, at times there might be like a close game where like kids might get less playing time, and the coaches are looking to play to win, to play players in positions to do well. But I think in tournaments is the time when like maybe, and this is where coaches need to be communicating with parents, like after the game or like after the weekend, this is the reason why your son maybe didn't play as much, and how can I improve? And a little bit of that happens also in mid-year evaluations with the coaches, where we meet one-on-one with the players and the players and the parents to kind of go over where they're, how they can improve, what things they can do better to get more playing time. But I think for league play, just expect playing time to be equal. If it's not, the coaches need to stand by that. And if you're first talking to them, and I think the next slide is about communication, if you're not getting that and you're not getting that feedback from your coaches, then, the next step will be talking to me, because I think for league play, yes, we want to win. Everyone wants to win. Parents, players want to win, but we want the individual player to continue to develop. And that means they have to play in games. So a little bit about playing time. Communication. So let's say, and I think a lot of this communication with coaches is huge. Like if you're having an issue with where your son is playing on the field as far as positions. And again, I think U10 or U8 through U10 players should be playing different positions, experiencing different positions throughout the year. At U11, yes, they should be playing different positions. It's going to take me some time to kind of figure out where kids fit in best, so I will move kids around. But I mean, talking to your coaches first, they should be your first point of contact, and they should be open to that. It shouldn't be another parent on the team. It shouldn't be, if there's a manager, it shouldn't be a team manager. The coach needs to be that first point of contact. If you're not getting your answer or your question answered, or you just feel like your coach is not communicating well with you, then the next step would be me reaching out to me and just said, hey, I talked to coach so-and-so, my son's really struggling here. He's having a bad experience in training. Like, that would be your time, like after your coach, like to reach out to me so that I can say, I can talk to the coach, come up with a solution, then go forward from there. And then the last point, which I don't think we'll get to, is like talking to Jonathan Colden, who's the director of coaching. I don't think we'll really ever get there. But I think just making sure you're communicating with your team's coach, like when you do have something come up, and don't wait till like the spring to bring it up. Like if there's things that you see like in the beginning of the year, then I think you should do so. Sanjita, that was a similar question that I got from Daniel. I'm going to get to those at the end, but thank you for sending those in. Let's see how this works. All right, the reason why I just brought this up is I just wanted to kind of toot our horn a little bit. And just hopefully you guys can see this. And I just shared this link because it goes over this year where our kids are going to school. Like Luca Ehrlich played goalkeeper for me. He's going to Georgetown. We got Delani at AU, University of Delaware. We got Gilbert, who also played on a green team, is now going to Yale on a full scholarship. The amount of players that we have going to these top universities is really amazing. We got Wash U for Aiden Ashrafi. Another player on one of our blue teams, not on an academy team. Kofi, Mount St. Mary's, Howard, Harvard. Sam played for me at U15. That's really exciting. But I think like this list, there's Marlon from 2020, who I brought up before. Noah played for me. He's at Brown. Stanford, Noah Tonda. I think like just if you go on the website and the Pathway to College and look at this, like the amount of players that we're putting at top universities, at the older age groups, of course, is incredible. Kisa at Cornell, another one of my players. Simon, another one of my players. Thomas, another one of my players at American. This is just really exciting for me. But I think overall, the amount of players that we're getting into these top universities is fantastic, and really is awesome. I'm going to try and what is happening here. I'm just stopping the share and going back, see if I can present from the start here. Just so you don't see how many tabs I have up here. Sorry. No present. There has to be a button. Present. No. Preview. Maybe I don't want that. I'm sorry, guys. Are we back with me on this? Good. Are we back on scholarships? Thumbs up. Am I not sharing? Good. Presenting.
There you go.
All right, cool. Sorry, I'm entering full screen again. There we go. All right, scholarships. Good. Thank you, Victor. I will touch on summer camps. I'm going to go through all those questions for you guys. All right, scholarships. BSC does offer scholarships for need-based players. You guys can apply for those once you receive your invitation. Then you can start filling out that scholarship process. And if you have any questions, you'll send it to Zane. All that information is on the website. We've done a great job. Of getting a lot of money on whether it be fundraising, et cetera. We're extremely excited about our scholarship program, but just look on the scholarship for that. Uniforms, we're on a new uniform cycle. We're partnering with DC Scores. Uniforms, the only thing that I really have to tell you guys, and we'll be able to start ordering June 15th, and I will be the one who sends out the uniform numbers. We will be redistributing new uniform numbers. Will all be random per team, but players will get new uniform numbers. I'm sorry, that's the best way that we're going to do it. It's the way that we're going to do it. There's no questions about that. But we're excited to have new uniforms because it's our third year cycle because of COVID. Key contacts, again, this will be shared. I think I'm first, and then we got league apps, billing, and scholarships to Zane. Cardings is going to be your coach or manager, and then Sean for marketing. Again, the uniforms website is up there. And then key links, again, all that stuff is up on our main webpage. I'm moving through that quickly so I can get into some of the questions before the Zoom is up. So I am going to stop the share now and then get into some of these questions. Okay. So Daniel asked, can a player be moved to a different team during the middle of the year? This is a good question. This happened a lot during this past year based on COVID. I mean, some kids were placed maybe in teams where because of last year, they weren't moved up. There weren't tryouts, and we were able to move kids during the year. We won't question or do that until after the fall season. If there is a question mark about where they are and where they should be, it really depends on what the coaches and I come up with as far as that player. So it can happen. We try to make sure that players stay with their teams for the full year. This year a little bit different. There was some movement between teams, but we try to limit that. If a kid isn't invited to join now, is there a chance to be invited during the year? Yeah, so you guys can always go out to summer camps to be re-identified or reevaluated through this process. But most players will receive an invitation to our teams, okay? If a player is originally placed on one color team and realize that they're better than anticipated, would they be placed on a more advanced team? Again, if we look at the bigger picture, we do have players that have been in our club. So mostly this happens to kids that are coming in from non-Bethesda teams, right? From other teams. So I think the bigger picture is that like they're going to develop with their coach that they're placed on, and we will identify those players who maybe should be moved up in the middle of the year, but not during the summer and or fall. Okay. When you're done with the program, will you please touch on summer camps or two age groups? And there's a difference. Okay, so Chris, summer camps, I would say the evening sessions tend to be a little bit more intense, and that's when the older age groups, kind of attend. But I would say our summer camps are really fun. I mean, they're going to get the touches in. They're going to have fun. I like kind of the setup that there's two different sessions, but I think for me, they're going to be very similar for the summer camps. Any lessons from COVID that will carry over to normal times? For example, outdoor winter practices were great. Yeah, Brian, can you expand on that? I'll see if you just add. I'm not sure. We'll try and get more times out there, and we're going to try and get the best practice facilities for them. But yeah, we're going to try and do outdoor winter sessions if we can. We'll also implement those SO5 sessions as well. Rates. So Hajar K, those rates, when I send the invite, there's going to be a link that kind of goes over everything, and it's going to go over all the fees. So the fees include everything. They include the coaching, um, the coaches pay, the fields, the league pay, the tournament pay, and it's for all spring, winter, and summer. The only thing the 1 week of summer camp. The only thing that is an additional price is the uniforms and then futsal. But you won't pay for any of the league pay. You won't pay coaches for training, anything like that. Okay. Tryouts, Victor. Tryouts are ran really simply. We're trying to identify the non-tryout player or the non-Bethesda tryout players, push them onto fields to kind of see how they do with other players, and throughout the whole year and year and a half, our coaches have been able to identify, um, you know, players who have done well on teams, whether they should move up and move down. That's why we need a little bit of time to kind of come up with these invitations, because I need to meet with the coaches throughout the week on that. Brian Folian placed on a U9 versus U8 academy. Walter Johnson, we would love to. It probably is not going to happen. We're probably going to be on outdoor grass fields. We were lucky enough to use those turf space fields because of COVID and because the other high schools weren't in weren't in session. But we will get the best permits that we can for the YDP teams. They do not have the same, all age groups do not have the same practice sessions and same times at the same locations, but we will be able to train with other teams this year. So instead of staying in our pods, there might be two teams training together, um, you know, at each session. So for example, teams won't only train by themselves, they'll train with another team and another coach. And those practice sessions and times are around the same for each age group. Like the U8s will go a little bit younger, or excuse me, a little bit earlier. And the U10s and U11s a little bit later, especially if a coach has teams in both age groups. I'm trying really fast because it looks like we have 3 minutes remaining. Our kid is already in Bethesda, but it was our first year of tryouts. Don't know. 6-year-olds that were non-Bethesda will get placed on a Bethesda team. They'll be with the U8, so 2014s and 2015s will. The number of teams and coaches online will not change. The only thing that we'll have to update if we add another team, Rakita. Yes, 100%, Brian. You can email me about that. Pass to pro clubs and or associated academies. So Victor, the heard about colleges path to pro clubs. So we don't associate with like DC United or anything like that. I mean, we do have about 7 players right now that have played with Bethesda in the MLS, and a couple that are overseas still. But we don't have a path to a specific pro club. So like some clubs like Loudoun in Virginia have partnered up with DC United, but we don't do that. So we're more focused on kind of getting them in the top universities. And if they're lucky enough to get drafted from those universities, then great. But we aren't affiliated with any MLS clubs. Do different teams in the same age group? Yes. So the teams will train with other teams in their age group. So for example, I'm coaching the U11 top team. We'll be training with the U11 A2 team throughout the year. I'm really sorry that this is, U8 have top age groups. No, so the U8s are going to be spread out at different levels. There is one U9 Orange team that we're making that's going to play up at U9, and the reason for that is just to push our U8 kids who've already been in the program for 1 year. Okay. We have bad experience with former teams. They all had teams the same location. Okay. Eldon, please send me an email about that. I would love to talk to you about that offline. Colors again, A1, A2, A3, then blue, orange, and green. That's how we spread out the team. Should we expect playoffs at point for league games? Nope, they just have league play and that's it. I mean, in the tournaments. A1 is the most advanced, yes. So again, I'm sorry that we're at less than a minute. We don't have the upgrade here, but if I haven't answered anything, you guys have my email, and we will put this up